Hey, everybody, welcome back to the I Play 2 podcast. I'm your host, Rob Adler. This week, former Miami Hurricanes basketball player Darius Rice joins the show. During his tenure at Miami, Darius led the Hurricanes in scoring all 4 years. He made 263 pointers, which is fourth all time in school history. And when he left, his 113 games started were a school record. Also, in 2007, Darius played for Dakota in the then NBA D League, where he came off the bench to score an astounding 52 points in the championship game to propel Dakota to victory. And Darius played overseas as well, playing in places like China, Israel, and Uruguay. His uncle, Jerry Rice, is a Hall of Fame wide receiver who holds NFL records for receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. And Darius's father, Tom Rice, was an all-SWAC offensive lineman at Jackson State and is in their athletic Hall of Fame. Darius, welcome to the show.
How you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, man, I couldn't been better, man. Great day.
I hear you're back in the coaching realm in high school in Corpus Christi. How's that going?
Oh, it's going pretty good, man. My fourth year coaching, COVID year was my last year playing, and taking that year off of just sitting around, I think I gained like 20 pounds, and I said, you know what? That's it for playing for me. 17 years is enough. So 4 years in the coaching, man, it's going pretty good. I like it.
Did COVID play a huge role in your hanging up your playing shoes, or did it just happen to be a coincidence and you were going to do it anyways?
Well, I had just finished in Malaysia, and I was looking for something else to continue playing because I still was in great shape. But sitting out for that year, man, I think it took a toll on my body because I couldn't get in the gym like I wanted. Everything was closed and locked up. So that was just a long time off. And when you have that gap like that, you get a year older. A lot of teams overseas be like, hey, I can get somebody a little younger than you for half the price. And I just wasn't going to play for any kind of money. So I think that kind of ended it with me and let me try to do something different.
How the heck did you end up playing in Malaysia?
They saw me play in Macedonia and I played in a tournament in Dubai. And the Malaysian team saw me there and I averaged like 35 points a game. They were like, look, could you come play in this cup for us? And we ended up winning the cup there. And I had like 63 and then 56. And Malaysia was a great place to be. The weather was nice. The sandy beaches, man, I enjoyed it. Like a lot of places overseas, I really enjoyed.
Were you in Kuala Lumpur or somewhere else?
Yes, I was in Kuala Lumpur. The tourist side, like just walking through the town, it kind of reminded me of going through a Thailand type of town. Lights and it's busy everywhere, people everywhere, all walking around having a good time. The beaches were nice. The sand was soft, white sand. It was really cool. Like the weather was hot, but the sand stayed cool. I really enjoyed it out there. And the fans love basketball there too.
The beach kind of sounds like the Gulf Coast of Florida beaches, those white sand that always stay cool in the heat.
Yes, that's how it felt. That beach there and Boracay Beach in the Philippines are probably the best two beaches outside of South Beach that I've ever been to.
From all the places you played internationally, it might be easier to list all the countries you didn't play in.
Yeah, it might be 22 different countries. When I stopped chasing the NBA, I had such a good name over there. I just kind of stayed. I come home for 2 months and then I'm gone to my next destination. And when you're in those other countries, they treat you like you're their Michael Jordan. It's no politics you have to deal with over here. Like you are that guy. So you get to perform the way you perform and you get to do the things that you were capable of doing instead of being told to fit some kind of style like you had to do when I was with the Miami Heat. I had to fit a style. We had Shaq and D Wade. I had to fit a style. When I was with LeBron, I had to fit a style. Over there, you are their key player. So you get to play how you want to play. And I loved it over there.
Is there any pressure being an American basketball player and kind of knowing the expectations are higher and everyone expects you to score?
Yeah, when you're over there, I tell a lot of guys that I train now. I train a lot of college athletes, a lot of athletes going overseas, and I tell them you have to do something extraordinary over there because they're putting a lot of money into you and time into you to be that guy. And if you go over there averaging 9 or 10 points, they're sending you back home and they're bringing somebody else. And I like that kind of style because it forces you to play at your maximum ability. A lot of guys can't do that. A lot of guys rely on their athleticism. They get over there and they realize those guys can play. They don't call foul like they do in the United States. They don't baby you like they do in the United States. So you really have to bring it. So fortunately, I was ahead of my time at the time. I was a 6'10 guard. And back then, most 6'10, 6'11 guys are centers. I would destroy those guys. They can't guard me. So I would average 30, 40 points. But now everybody has to do it. If you're a guy that can't do that now, they're sending you back home.
In terms of the way the game has changed, like I would say the NBA is almost positionless, maybe outside of a center. Do you think your game would fit the NBA better now as opposed to when you were coming out of college 20 years ago?
If I played today, I'd probably be the top three pick. I'd probably average 30 in the NBA today because they play the game now the way I played it as a ninth grader, as a 10th grader. The game is, like you said, it's position. When I came out, I was labeled a tweener. They didn't know if I was a three. They didn't know if I was a four. They said I was too slow to play a guard position, but I was too small to play a power forward position. But now, I mean, you look at the Kevin Durant's, you look at a lot of these players now that go on number one pick, two pick, three pick in the draft, especially this year, they were not ready. They drafted them on potential. And I'm like, I can kill those guys today, but I'm just 42 now.
There's still time, right? Hope springs eternal.
Yeah, true. But if I play today, I guarantee you I will average 30, 35 points. And it would be so easy because you can't touch anybody. You have to be able to shoot the three. You have to be able to get to the rack. And that's all I do, shoot the three and run the floor. That's all you have to do today. No one plays defense anymore.
That is definitely true. And from a coaching perspective, who are the players, be it in college or the NBA right now, that you enjoy watching?
I have a top 40 player in the country, Billy White III, that's on my team right now. He's 6'8", molded just like me, built like me. I work with him, train him. He's the carbon copy of me. He's ranked 39 in the country right now. He went from unranked to I got him in the top 40 because I know how to train these guys to play the way they play today. But I love Cooper Flagg, man. I can't wait to see him. Cooper Flagg's probably one of the better players that I've seen in a long time. He should carry the NBA, him and Victor Wembanyama lately. I do like Jaleel Bethea down in Miami. I'm interested to see what he can do. It's going to be some interesting games and interesting matchups this year, but I'm a big Cooper Flagg fan.
Cooper Flagg might propel Duke to a national championship. They still need probably another, I would say, true ball handler, but they definitely are a national championship threat, I would say.
Yes, they do need another ball handler because I saw the Kentucky game the other day. Kentucky came back and beat them. Cooper had a great game against Kentucky. So they get another ball handler. I think they'll be fine.
A little bit earlier, you mentioned that you played in the Philippines, and I'm curious, did you ever meet Filipino basketball legend Billy Ray Bates?
Never met Vapes, but I did meet Manny Pacquiao, and he tried to play against us. He had a team out there. So one of my teammates was James Yap. He was dating the supermodel lady on TV over there. James Yap was like the local legend in basketball at that time. We were on the same team. Kirby Ramundo. I forgot the other guy we had. He was our manager. He was another former legend in the Philippines. But, man, that had to be probably outside of the United States and maybe high-level Europe. That had to be the best basketball environment I've ever played in. Like 25,000 fans in that arena every time we played.
Really? 25,000? I know basketball is popular there. I didn't realize it was that popular.
Oh, yeah, 25,000. I played for Pure Foods, which was probably one of the more popular teams in the Philippines. And, man, it's a Pure Foods video on YouTube. It's kind of grainy now because it's a lot of years ago. We didn't have HD back then. But you will see me hit the game-winning shot, and, I mean, everybody went crazy in that arena. I think I had 56, and I was just getting off the plane. I still had jet lag. But just to do that, it felt awesome. I felt great.
What was it like to meet Manny Pacquiao? Because for people listening who don't know quite who that is, he's a boxing legend over there.
Manny Pacquiao, he actually has a team now. He's like a player general manager there. But if people don't know him, he is the boxing legend. People compare it with Floyd Mayweather. They had that epic bout a few years ago, a little bit after Manny's prime or whatever. But Pacquiao is considered one of the greatest, one of the legends, and he is the legend over there. He actually is I want to say the governor of the Philippines back then. So he's doing a lot for the country back there.
What was it like to meet him?
First of all, he is every bit of 5'1", 5 feet tall. So you see him on TV as this big legendary boxer, and then you meet him in person, he's this little tiny guy. And I'm like, wow. So that was my first impression. He was just so small. But, man, just to shake his hand and that he actually knew who I was and admired how I played, man, that was really big for me because I'm like, dude, you're one of the legends that we watch in the United States boxing. For you to know who I am over here, man, it just felt good for me.
Pretty cool that he knew who you were.
Exactly. He knew exactly who I was. That was big for me. Like, I was like, wow, I'm just a small guy in Mississippi, you know?
Do you ever think about how you came from a smaller place and ended up playing in all these different and unique places all over the world?
Yes, because just growing up in Mississippi, we don't have any pro teams. We don't have a lot there, not a lot to do. And coming from the neighborhood I came in, a small neighborhood, a very poor, violent neighborhood, If anybody's ever seen the movie Lean on Me and Eastside High School, I went to Lanier High School, and we looked just like Eastside High School looked. So just to come out of there and to make it as far as I did was big for me and my whole community. Like, everybody followed me everywhere I've gone in the world. From the G League to the NBA to overseas, it felt like everybody made it out because they could live that life through what I was posting and through my pictures and through where I've been. It was a great feeling just to come back home sometimes and pass out some of the gear I've got from overseas, some shirts, some jerseys, shorts, everything. So I loved it.
For you, especially now as a coach, what's it like to pay it forward?
It's funny, man. These kids, they like to Google me and look me up, and they see all this stuff, and then I had to tell all the stories to them. And then they want to play me one-on-one. I say, look, I will kill all of you guys in here. Try to play me one-on-one. With one knee and a bad back, I will still get you. But especially at the high school level, because the kids at the high school level, they still want to learn. And it's good to be a coach that they can actually look up and see who's been there, who's played with LeBron. They can see that I played with Shaq and those guys. And I think it pushes them a little bit more because they know they got a chance to make it. And they know they have a coach that's been there and they can listen to me and learn from me. It's a lot easier getting to these guys, especially the younger ones, than it is getting to a pro or a college guy who may think they know it all, or they may think I got these NIL deals. So just to learn how these kids are today and the style of play today and learning about them and what goes on with their life, they're not like we were when we were kids. They're not like when we played. I had very tough coaches who demanded a lot, and I won 3 high school championships. And it felt like I never won a game because we had these hard coaches who pushed you to be better, to be great. You can't coach like that now. So I get to grow with them and help through all their things. So that's the biggest part about paying it forward for me is these kids get to see a real athlete who's done it before, and they get to learn from me.
Whether we're talking D-Wade, LeBron, or Shaq, what's the favorite story you have with them?
D-Wade's a good friend of mine. I love D-Wade. I don't have any weird stories about him, but Shaq is a different character. Shaq, you've probably heard this story. You've probably seen it. I guarantee you somebody's posted it before. We would shower. If you know Shaq, he's a big, fun-loving, funny guy, big kid at heart. Shaq could come butt naked, 7'1", 360 pounds. He'd just start dancing behind the rookies and stuff. And it's like, no, we can't do that, guy. No. But what you gonna do with this Shaq behind you? Like, you better run. You better hope he doesn't grab you. But he's just a big, funny guy, man. Gary Payton used to make me bring him donuts at 5 a.m. for breakfast, and he doesn't even eat the donuts. We have practice at 8, and then he brings the whole donut box to practice at 8. God, I could have brought the donuts at 8 myself, but they just want to test the rookies out to see, will you do that stuff? Just so they can see if they trust you and stuff. But that Shaq story, like, that had to be the worst because if you don't get your big butt away from behind me playing, I don't play like that, Shaq.
Can you put into words just how big Shaq is? I mean, you're a big dude yourself. You're 6'10", but Shaq's easily 4 or 5 inches taller than you, and I would probably say at least 60, 70 pounds heavier.
When I played, I was 6'10", 225. When Shaq reported to the Heat's camp, Pat Riley was upset because he was 30 pounds overweight. He showed up at 372 pounds, and we wanted him to play at like 320. So all he did was the treadmill and bike for the whole first 2 weeks of preseason. But he's 7'1", 370 pounds, and his shoulders are wide. Legs weren't that big, but up top, he was like the most solid, biggest guy I've ever seen in my life. Like, we had Alonzo Mourning. He made Alonzo Mourning look small. That's how big Shaq is. Everyone knows Alonzo Mourning was a center in the NBA. He made Alonzo Mourning look small.
That kind of sounds like when I interviewed Dirk Nowitzki, who's a legit 7 feet, and Sean Bradley walked in, who's a head taller.
Exactly. And that's how Shaq is. He was huge. My first year was, I think, Yao Ming's first or second year. And I remember going to a high school camp with Yao Ming. Yao Ming was sitting in a stall. If you know you're sitting in the bathroom stall and your head was facing outward. And I'm looking at him like, why is he looking this way at me? And I didn't realize he was going to the bathroom. He's taller than the stall. He's looking out. And I'm just like, oh, wow.
I would have never thought of that, but he's so tall that could be an issue. I have never thought about that.
And he was like 18 at the time. If you don't know, he's 7'6". I'm like, this guy's huge. Had a size 12 shoe, and I think that's why he had a lot of problems in the NBA with his feet. All that weight, and you got the smallest feet I've ever seen.
One of the other things I want to ask you about is you played for Mississippi legendary high school coach Thomas Billups. I know he was somewhat of a disciplinarian. Was he that way when you were there?
Like I said, I won 3 state titles, and I felt like I never won a game because he pushed you so hard. He drove you so hard every single day to be the best. As a kid today, they probably can't handle him. And I think that's why he got out of high school. We ran if we lost after the game. We stayed all night after games sometimes. And the parents back then were fine with it. Yeah, coach, you keep them. They play like crap tonight. You keep them. He put the discipline in me that I needed. College was a breeze to me because I ran so much in high school. I was so disciplined in high school. The college didn't bother me. He prepared me for that. And he's coached me. He's coached Tang Hamilton. He's coached Monte Ellis, Charles Rose. All these are pros. He's coached a lot of great players. We were just tougher than everybody. He made us tough. I take a lot from him coaching today. I just want kids to be tough and play hard. You're going to make mistakes. But as long as you play hard for every minute you're on that floor, that's all I can ask for. And that's what he asked for. Yeah, he'll get mad if you miss a play or mess up, but you're not going to come out for that. He would take you out for not playing hard and turning the ball over. So those are the two things that I stress today to these kids. Don't turn my ball over. And if you're not playing hard, you're going to come sit by me.
Not so much about basketball, but about life. Was there something he told you or a lesson that you learned from him?
The main thing I learned from him, you have to be disciplined in everything you do. And that's getting up in the morning, running your miles, playing hard all the time, and just taking care of your family, man. Like, he was big on family. He would have parties at his house every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, just to bring the team together. Take care of your family. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And just be disciplined. Like, that's what I get from him.
Speaking of family, and probably not so much now, but I imagine definitely in high school, your uncle and your dad, to a certain extent, kind of cast a big shadow with their athletic careers. How hard was it for you to kind of get your own identity?
It helped me and it hurt me in a lot of ways. It hurt me because I've had NBA scouts tell me that I never had to work hard because of my uncle. And I'm sitting there like, my uncle's not my dad. But they felt like, because we looked alike, we both were the athletes, that he's always gave me stuff. You ask Jerry, Jerry's never done that. My dad put the drive in me. My dad put the work ethic in me. My dad was a hard coach because he coached football. He put the discipline in me. He did all that for me. We didn't have much. Jerry had it. We didn't have it. But people on the outside thought that just because Jerry's in my family that I had it, and I never had it. And I think that hurt me a lot because it made a statement saying that that's my life too, and it wasn't. I didn't have anything, so I had to work for what I got. If I didn't have that, I think I probably would have got a lot further. At the same time, I'm glad I had it because I got to see 3 Super Bowls. I got to meet Joe Montana, Steve Young, Roger Craig, Tom Rathman, Ronnie Lott, all these guys, Merton Hanks. I had a great time as a kid.
As a Dallas Cowboys fan, there are some Montana and Steve Young moments I'd rather not remember.
There's a lot of Cowboy moments I don't like because they owe us a Super Bowl. They stole Deion Sanders from us.
And I'm guessing Alvin Harper's not the first name each football.
I don't like Alvin Harper. I don't like Emmitt Smith. I don't like Troy Aikman, Jay Novacek. I don't like Michael Irvin, any of them.
But it's a fun rivalry, though.
That was the best football. Dallas, San Francisco, the Buffalo Bills. That's when football was football. Like, you ground and pound, you throw the ball. That was football back then.
I'm with you on the running game, man. I feel that if you run the ball, and it's not so much about what you do offensively about running, it just saves your defense and shortens the game.
People don't understand that Jerry broke all these records in a running style offense. People like, if he didn't have Montana, he didn't have Steve Young. I said, they ran the ball first. What are you talking about? Imagine the numbers he gets now.
Did you ever think about playing football growing up, or was basketball always your sport?
I played football all through high school to my junior year. From 8th to 9th grade, I grew 8 inches. I went from 6'1" to 6'9". And I started getting ranked high in basketball. And I was like, you know what? I'm keep my focus here because I'm ranked a lot higher. And my dad said, yeah, that's right, because we don't want to risk the injury or something like that. And we just kept going from there. But I actually was a better football player, play wide receiver and free safety.
So which did you like more, catching the ball or hitting somebody?
A little bit of both, because my dad was a coach, so he's going to throw me the ball every play. But I love to hit people. For a little guy, like at that time, was 6'5", 6'6", about 160 pounds, I used to just hit people. And it was just something about being outside, like playing outside. It beats playing in the gym any day. But like I said, I was growing taller. I started developing my basketball game, and it just worked out.
What from the football field was able to translate to the basketball court to make your overall game better?
Number one, I was fast. I didn't want to get hit playing receiver. You're not going to catch me to hit me. So I think building my speed up from football and my agility translated for me being a taller wing player in basketball because I was really shifty. I was really quick. and you had to catch me. You had to get tired before I got tired because I never got tired. And so I think the speed and the shiftiness being on the football field translated for me being a taller guy with great coordination on the basketball court.
You were a McDonald's All-American in basketball. What was it like to go play in the McDonald's game and be around all these other great players?
It was big for me, number one, because people didn't know who I was. My first 2 years, I didn't play much my freshman year because I was a transfer. And my first game as a freshman, and I played a varsity game, I had 41 points. And the coach on the opposing team kept asking me during the game, where did you come from? Where did you come from? Find out 2 days later, he went downtown on me and I got ruled ineligible. So I was always behind the 8 ball. By the time I was going to my junior year, I was ranked in the 600s, I think. And I went to a Nike camp, and I look up all these names, Darius Miles's, the Gerald Wallace's, Zach Randolph's, Marcus Taylor's at the time, the Omar Cooks, Jared Jeffries. I'm looking up all these names, and I heard the names before. I've seen them on paper, but now I'm at this camp, 6'9", 170 pounds. I get to play these guys. And it was that Nike camp going into my junior year where I just erupted. 30 points here, 35 points. I'm hitting threes from half court. And I was like, who the heck is this guy from Mississippi? And that's when I realized that I could be pretty good at this because I just blew the scene overnight. And I started talking to guys like Ron Briscoe. He was a big talent scout back then. George Routing from Nike, Sonny Vaccaro, all these guys meeting me like lawyers. I'm like, who are these guys? I don't know you guys. I just see you on the newspapers and stuff. But that's when I realized this might be pretty good. And I come off the bench again in the McDonald's game. First 5 minutes, I'd have had 20 points. So they're like, okay, this guy here can shoot from anywhere. And that's when I realized, okay, I think I got a shot now. But, man, just playing with those guys on that stage in Boston was great. I could have broken the record. I had 24. I only played 3 minutes of the second half because they didn't want me to catch Jordan's record at the time, I guess, because I was going for it.
All of a sudden, you have all these eyeballs on you. How did that change your recruiting process, and what was it like?
At the camp, my assistant coach was like, D, they are talking about you, man. They're talking about you. And I'm like, talking about me for what? I ain't doing nothing. I'm thinking it's bad. He said, no, they're liking you. I get back home, and I had 100 letters already. I'm getting 50 letters a day at the high school. I have garbage bags full of recruitment mail. And it was big, and I'm getting boxes of shoes. We didn't have NIL, and all this stuff is legal now. Back then, it wasn't. Allen Iverson sent me some Reeboks. I'm like, wow.
Because your dad was a coach, how did he help you go through the recruiting process and determine what might be better or not for you in college?
I mean, it was all a shock to him, too, because he went to Jackson State, a small HBCU, and he didn't know how big it was either until they started calling and texting him all day. Well, they didn't really text. We didn't have cell phones. They just called the house on the little dial phone we had. That's when he realized it was really big, and he just told me it was my choice. Wherever you want to go, he's going to be behind me. If I could change one thing, after the McDonald's game, I should have declared for the draft. It was a sign right then. The window was open. That should have been the time that I did it, but I didn't do it. I ended up sticking and going to school, but my dad was always there every step, whatever I chose to do. I think he pretty much wanted me to go. My mom was the one telling me to go to school. I had a 4.0 GPA. Go to school, go to school. My dad was like, no, we got to take this shot now. So I'm sitting on the fence at the time. We didn't have social media to tell you where you might be projected to go. So I'm relying on other people to tell me, and I'm getting mixed emotions, mixed feelings. I'm relying on the head coach, Coach Billups, my high school coach. I'm relying on him to give me positive information. Should I go? Should I stay? But back then, everybody got something going on, and he had some stuff going on with Arkansas that he would have possibly been assistant coach if I gone to Arkansas. There was a lot going on, man. And he got kind of upset with me for not going to Arkansas. So, yeah, he's going to tell me, no, the NBA, they don't want you. You're not ready yet. So I chose to go to school.
How did you end up picking Miami over any of the other schools that were after you?
Once I narrowed it down, I felt really comfortable with Tubby Smith at Kentucky. I actually committed to Tubby Smith. Tubby Smith was at most of my senior year high school games. He was at a lot of my practices, man. Tubby was a great guy. I love Tubby Smith to death to this day. I hope Tubby calls me and gives me an assistant coaching job. I sent him some resumes. But I committed to Kentucky. I went on a visit there, played with Jamal McGlory and Keith Bogans in their pickup games. I don't know if they let me do it or what, but I was killing them up there. Only thing was he told me that I would be backing up Tayshaun Prince, and I'm like, I'm not backing up anybody. It came down to that point right there that, okay, Miami's my last visit. And he was like, well, you love us already now. Why would you take a visit to Miami? Go on and commit, go on and sign and stay with us. And I said, no, I'm from Mississippi. I'm taking my visit to Miami.
So what turned the tide for you for Miami? Was it the chance to play and not have to come off the bench?
Well, I met Leonard Hamilton, I met Stan Jones, and it was ties already from Mississippi with the Hurricanes. Stan Jones coached against me in football in Mississippi at Jackson Academy when I played football. Mario Bland played at Callaway in Mississippi. I was a fan of his when I was coming out. He was at Callaway High School. He was at the University of Miami. Leroy Hurd played on my AAU team in Mississippi. He was from Moss Point, Mississippi. He was at the University of Miami. So I had a lot of Mississippi ties there, and they were all begging me to come and talking to me to come. And I had a great pickup run with them. Miami probably was one of my worst visits because it rained the whole time I was there. So didn't do too much fun stuff on the beach anyway because it was raining the whole time. But I did have a good bond with the players, and Coach Hamilton probably was one of the better family coaches. He was a great coach. Between him and Tubby, I couldn't go wrong with either one. And I sat home, and it was the hardest decision ever. And I told Coach Hamilton, I looked him in his eye, I said, you can't leave. If I commit to you and sign, you can't leave me. Because at the time, there was a lot of rumors about him leaving. He said, I'm going to stay with you. I'm with you the whole time. And he ended up leaving me 2 weeks later to go to the Wizards after I signed, and I'm stuck.
Well, today's day and age, you wouldn't have been stuck because of the transfer portal and the way that works.
It was totally different. You sign there, you're stuck there. And if you try to transfer, you lose your eligibility. So I was stuck. They had a transfer portal back then, I would have been fine. But when Hamilton got the job at Florida State my junior year, he actually tried to get me to transfer. But now I'm a Hurricane now, dude. We're going to play against you.
I was gonna say that Miami-Florida State rivalry, I don't care what sport it is, it's tough to be on both sides of the fence for that.
Exactly. And a funny story is I was probably the bigger Florida State fan because of Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders was my favorite football player. I loved the Florida State football when I was a little kid. I loved Florida State football because of the bravado, the hype that Deion brought to the team, the gold chains, all that aura they had. I loved the chant. Took a visit to their basketball program, and it was okay. It wasn't really that good at the time. But it's always been a big rival. Once I was a Hurricane, that's it. I'm a Hurricane now.
You got to Miami. How much of a culture shock was it coming from where you grew up?
Number one, they party every single night in Miami. And I'm coming from a place where you don't really party much. So when I get to Miami, my freshman year, I probably went out every single night. And we had 6 o'clock workouts, and I never was late. Like I said, I'm very disciplined. The problem was I never partied before. So I would show up 5:30 in party clothes, go straight to my workout and be just fine. My sophomore year, I had to cut that out. But the people you see, just be walking the beach, you'll see a Jay-Z, you'll see a Lil Wayne, NFL guys, hockey players, you'll see baseball players. You'll see mega superstars everywhere, all the time. Denzel walking down the street, Tiger Woods over here. And coming from Mississippi, you don't get to see that all the time. My recruiting business, I hung out with Trina, Trick Daddy, rappers. Uncle Luke was like my mentor there. If you want to look up Uncle Luke, go right ahead. For all the young people who don't know who Uncle Luke is. But those were guys that influenced me in my life because I still talk to a lot of them today.
I'd like to be walking down the beach and seeing Jay-Z. That sounds like that'd be pretty fun.
Coming from Mississippi where you don't see any of this, oh yeah, I maybe overstayed, but I enjoyed my 4 years in Miami.
When you were there, who was the person you met that you said, I can't believe I'm actually having a conversation with this person?
But one, like I said, as a 17-year-old kid, I met Luther Campbell, Uncle Luke. Uncle Luke was probably a big mentor of mine. He taught me a lot about Miami, and he used to come to my games and support me. Eric Batchelor, who's big in the business world in Miami, I still talk to him. He went to the Hall of Fame meeting with me a couple of weeks ago, but Luther Campbell was probably number one because he was big in the community. People say a lot of things about him based on his music back in the day and what he did, but people don't realize how much he gives back to Miami, how much he gives back to the community, his football team that he has there, the music industry that he does. I would stay at his house in the summers. I couldn't afford to fly home all the time and do all this. He just let me come stay with him. And just to be around him and me knowing who he was musically, man, that was like really, really big for me.
For people listening who don't know, he was a part of Two Live Crew, and that was my era. I'm a couple of years older than you, so I certainly remember Two Live Crew, definitely.
Oh, yeah, I met all of those guys, and I was a big fan. He started the parental advisory on records, put it that way.
What was it like to spend a day at his house? Because I imagine spending a day at his house was not spending a day at my house.
Oh, man, trust me. Spending a day with his house, like, don't fall in love with the dancers. And see, I've seen a lot of NFL and NBA guys lose a lot of money messing with my dancers. So he said, just don't mess with my dancers. Everything will be fine. But, I mean, he just had the pool. I could just go out in the pool and watch movies at his house because he had a theater. Just being around that culture, man, it was enough for me. Like, It kept me away from a lot of the bad stuff because he kept me away from the bad parts of Miami, the bad things that go on in Miami.
Which, considering his public image, which at the time wasn't always great, that's nice that he was a mentor for you and told you where you needed to go and where to stay away from.
Exactly. The music side and what he did and the exploitation of women that everybody say, that was part of a business. That was part of him being musically doing what he did. He saw a niche in the market. He brought booty music. He brought the Miami culture worldwide. And people judge him off of that. Well, that's really not who he is. He's such a great guy. He does so much for Miami. He built and bred Miami. He will fight for Miami to the day he dies. Like, I think he wants to run for mayor, but people just keep having this stigma over him. But the guy loves Florida. He loves Miami.
Do you still talk with him?
Oh, yeah. I talk to him all the time. When he comes to Mississippi, man, I always text him that he does a show there, and he lets me on the party bus with him. And anytime he's closer this way, I always chat him up, call him up, and we get together.
I need to hang out with you.
Oh, man, let's go.
Miami is a fun place. There's no question. Whether we're
Yeah.
talking the food, South Beach, the sports.
There's a lot you can do in Miami. The only thing I hate about it now is very superficial, it's more expensive. A lot of the real people, they're trying to force all the way down to Homestead, and they just wanted to be like a big tourist city full of rich people, and I don't like that. Like when I went back a couple of weeks ago, everything's just marked up too high.
Unfortunately, I think that's true a lot of the country right now.
Any kind of beach spot or nice spot, it's just bad. Miami's really bad. Like me and my sister ate a hamburger at Redhead Burgers. If you ever want a good burger, go to Redhead Burgers on Ocean Drive on South Beach. Best burger I've ever eaten in my life. But just for me and her, 2 burgers, 2 fries, and a drink, we spent $56.
You were just recently inducted into the University of Miami Hall of Fame. What's it like to be bestowed that honor?
It was a blessing. 25 years, the 25th year of me walking through the doors of the University of Miami, I get inducted. It worked out perfectly. I had a lot of fans who were holding up signs at the game, and they just send me pictures of it. Like, I'm happy I'm in there. Man, there's so much I could say. They said I'll keep my speech to like 3 to 5 minutes. I said, no, I've been waiting 25 years for this. I'm talking all day. But just people to thank and the sacrifices I made. It's a story people don't even know that I went through in Miami, that I get to actually say my part and how I felt. People can understand what I went through at Miami that I had to endure. And I get to say what I overcame to be there and to be finally inducted into the Hall of Fame. I get to tell them.
One of the games that I know at Miami was a game against UConn. I think they were number 11 in the country in 2003, if memory serves.
We had just played them a week before in UConn. I think I had 30-33 that game, and I hit a buzzer beater to go in overtime. Unfortunately, we lost in overtime in UConn. So I've always had pretty good games against UConn. When they had Karan Butler, me and him used to go heads up and go at it. I played my best games against big opponents, and UConn was just in the way. I did not like UConn. I couldn't stand UConn. UConn was the number 1 hated team on my schedule. So they just happened to catch me on a night where I was just mad at the week before, and I let them have it. We just opened our new arena. This was the second game in what's now the Watsco Center. It was the Convocation Center when I played. So I was ready. I was ready all day. I was locked in all day long. So I couldn't wait to that game. And 43 points, game winner at the buzzer. The first 17 out of 19 points of our team to start the game. It was nothing I couldn't do that night.
Being a short guy, I have no idea what it's like to score like 10 points, much less 43 points. What's it like just in that moment being the guy and knowing that you just upset a team that, with hindsight, was going to go on to win a national title?
It was more of a big deal to all my teammates. A lot of my teammates that year were freshmen. We lost John Savage. We lost a lot of people. So it was me leading a bunch of young freshmen and maybe a couple of sophomores, and for them to experience that level of basketball, that level of play, and for us to beat that team, like I said, won a championship, I think it inspired a lot of people. Even going the next couple of years, we started getting more high-level recruits, high-level players. I think me being Miami, me going to Miami, sparked the buzz that Miami could be a basketball school because people weren't going to Miami for basketball. They were going for football. But I think that game and how it was number 1 on ESPN, top 100 plays at the end of the year, that shot was shown for months on ESPN. Everybody remembered, man, that game against UConn. It was prime time on ESPN. I had 96 missed calls when I got to the locker room that night from people from Mississippi. I think that moment was so big and so fun for me. I enjoyed the whole week. Slam Magazine did an interview with me the next week. ESPN, the magazine, did an interview with me the next week. It just put a lot into perspective. I always go back to me coming from Mississippi could inspire so many people because I was always a quiet, humble type of guy. but people were recognizing me. I can take that, but I still that shy kid who is from Mississippi.
When everything started blowing up after that, did your Uncle Jerry have any advice about just kind of how to handle it?
Jerry was always there. He always told me never take things from agents. If I needed something, just let him know, or don't do nothing illegal that could mess me up in the future. Because like I said, we didn't have NIL back then. Anything you did back then would get you suspended. So he was just always teaching me about the rules and about the pitfalls of professional athletes and all this type of things. He just told me what to watch for and what to stay clear from, and just being that positive light in my ear.
Was there ever a moment once you turned pro that you were like, why am I not getting this break? Why am I not getting a contract to go play in the NBA?
I still have those moments and visions because I still have dreams of that. I know how good I was, and I don't even watch the NBA today because it's played the way I played it almost 30 years ago. It's played the way I was taught how to play the game. And me knowing that I was being scrutinized and I was being belittled because of how I played, they called me soft. They said I didn't want to go inside. They said this and that. At the end of the day, I'm giving you 20, 30, 40 points a game everywhere I go, and I'm still not getting a shot. I go to the G League, well, the D League at the time, I get MVP. I hit 11 threes in a game, and I still don't get a call up. I mean, I go overseas, I'm MVP in every country I've been in, and I don't get a call up. I go to China, and I average 50, and I don't get a call up. And it bothers you. Like, it be days I used to wake up, and I just want to be like, you know what, forget it, I quit. Nothing's ever enough. But my mom was always there in my ear. She made sure I kept going and kept fighting because why did I always have to be the guy to teach a moment or to be that guy to help somebody else? Why couldn't I be the one to get in? Like Chris Douglas Roberts got his shot in the NBA. He played on my G League team in the Texas Legends. And he tells me right now, you're the only reason I made it to the NBA. He'll tell me that. He averaged a triple-double, but I averaged 19 points. I was number one in three-pointers made percentage. And I made him look good because every time he kicked me the ball, I made the shot. So all his 11 assists just come from me. But I was always the guy to help somebody else. I never understood why. And I probably never will understand why. I never got that shot and that break. But I'm thankful for the chances I did get, the people I did meet. Like I said, if I come out after the McDonald's game, I might have a different story to tell. It might be a good story or a bad story. But I know I would have gotten drafted because B.J. Armstrong said he had me at number 6 on the board if I had come out that year. But I didn't know that until later on in life.
I don't know if this is the right word. Is there any bitterness you have towards the NBA over not getting that legitimate shot outside of some camps in the then D League?
I try to keep the bitterness part away, but my students remind me of it every day. Coach, man, all these numbers you did, man, why didn't they never get you? So I never can run from it. So I think it's a little bitterness there because me being the competitor that I am and how much I was a dog as a player, I know I could have been there. I know I should have been there. I know the politics now behind the game, but I still think that on the right team in the right circumstances, I would have been an all-star. I would have. I would have been a great player in the league. My name would have been remembered in the NBA because everywhere I've gone, my name is remembered. Every country I've played in, they know who I was. The G League, they know who I am. College, they know who I was. And so many people got drafted that I'm like, he didn't even score against me. He couldn't do nothing against me, and I destroyed him. So I think it's a little bitterness there, and I think that's why I still have dreams today about it. But like I said, it's hard to watch NBA games today because I still see guys out there that don't try hard, that don't go hard, that don't work hard. And I think about how hard I had to work, how hard I had to play to just be told no, to be the last cut of the Portland Trailblazers after I led Summer League in scoring. Well, I do understand that. I asked Mo Cheeks, what happened, coach? Did y'all like the way I played? And he was like, yeah, we love the way you played, but we made you a 2-year deal, you turned it down. And I think at that moment is what messed me up because I never turned the deal down. My agent did. He said, yeah, man, you led the Summer League in scoring. We're going to take you to New Jersey to get more money. No, it doesn't work like that. An undrafted player makes the same amount. That still burns me up that they did me the way they did when I know I would have been an all-star. I would have been a great player because the game evolved the way I played it.
In terms of dealing with an agent, because it sounds like you didn't have a great experience there, what pitfalls do you talk about with your players now? Because some of your players are going to get a chance to go pro somewhere.
Well, I tell them now, like I have Billy White here, who's a great player who will get a shot one day. I've learned you really don't need an agent. You just need a good lawyer. You can make your mom or dad or somebody the agent to manage your money and to negotiate deals because they're going to offer you deals. I had an agent I didn't trust at the time, but he knew I was hot and he was doing some under-the-table stuff. I felt like I needed to go with him just because of the stuff he's already done for me when he really was looking out for himself and not me. And that's what hurt. You always have to look out for yourself first. I just got cut from the Heat. I didn't understand why. I just had 14 points the night before, backing up Dwayne Wade as a shooting guard. Had 14 points against New Orleans. I remember to this day. Shot it well. Gary Payton looks over me and says, "Man, you had a good game, young fella, man. You made it. You're going to be all right." And I'm sitting in the hotel room about to play the Pistons, and I see James Posey has signed with the Miami Heat. And I'm like, there's only 2 non-guaranteed contracts, and I'm one of them. But I just had a good game. I didn't think it was me. Then Pat Riley knocks on my door with tears in his eyes, and he didn't want me to go. But Van Gundy felt like he needed a better defender. And I don't understand these moments, man. I still to this day do not understand why the target was so bad and so heavy on me. So I tell my players today, man, look out for yourself. Don't trust these agents. Trust your family. If you can employ your family to be your agent, to be the middle person, do it. Josh Goodwin was the only guy I trusted because he saw me after that Miami game. He called me when I got home, and he said, "D, I got $30,000 a month right now in Uruguay if you want to go." He said, "I know you're kind of down about the NBA, but $30,000 a month is $30,000 a month." And I went down there and I got MVP. And me and him, we rolled out for maybe the next 12 years together.
30,000 a month. I'm in the wrong business. Can I talk about family throughout the show? I know you lost your dad to a kidney ailment right around the time I lost my mom to a kidney ailment as well.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. What was it like to kind of go through it, and in terms of seeing a parent struggle?
Oh, man, let me tell you about this. Number one, my dad was a tough man. He was a hard man. So sometimes we were on good terms, sometimes we were on bad terms. At this particular time, I was in Miami finishing my degree, and it was a great moment for him. I went back to school to finish my degree. That's one thing he wanted me to always do. And he wanted me to be a coach. He was a coach, so he would have been proud to see me coach a game. I'm in Miami, and we're not on great terms at this time. And I met this prophet there, and she just came to me and she said, "You need to go home and see your dad." I said, "Okay." And I ended up packing my stuff, drove back to Mississippi. And my dad was at that time at a nursing home because he couldn't take care of himself. Him and my mom are not together right now. He couldn't take care of himself, get to dialysis and all this stuff. So I went to the home, picked him up. We went to eat, took him home. We had us a good time just to see him again. So we're fine now. And to hear him talk to me after seeing me back at school, getting my degree and stuff, he couldn't make it down to the graduation. But just to talk to him again, man, I think I've never seen my dad that emotional and that soft. It put back in perspective, like he was your dad. He raised me the way he was raised. He taught me the way he was taught. And that's what he knew. And that's all he knew. And like I said, it made me a better person. I didn't understand it as a kid, but I understood it as I got older. And we forgave each other. It is what it is. But just to see him struggling, like he said, D, I'm just tired, man. I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of tubes down my throat all the time. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of them taking this thing out my arm because you're not getting a pulse. He was tired of fighting it. And I don't think he would have survived COVID. He died right before COVID hit. And just to see how big and strong my dad was, when I got back from Miami and saw him small and lost all this weight, 150 pounds lighter, it was hard to take in because my dad is this big guy. Like, he's like the Superman to me, the big, tough, strong guy. I didn't see him like that right now. It was really tough to see how kidney failure and how dialysis, how that just taken away everything about him. But he fought. They only gave him 5 years to live back in 92 when he got diagnosed with it. He lasted so long with it just to fight, just to keep fighting. It was tough because I never forget the day when it happened. It was a Friday. He was so excited that he was going to get to see me coach my first game. He never made it to it. We had the funeral, and it was the day of the game, and I wasn't going to go. And my mom told me my dad would not want me to miss my first game because of him. And I drove there with high blood pressure, eyes red, and when I got to the game, we were losing at halftime, and we came back and we beat those boys when they saw me. But yeah, it was tough, man. And just to see him fight all those years lets me know that whatever I'm going through is not as tough as what he was going through, and it keeps me fighting.
It's just so hard to see somebody do that. And I remember reading stories about your dad and your uncle and all the different stuff they were trying to do for not only trying to get different treatments, but for the advancement and raising funds. Is the Rice family still involved in any of the fundraising?
Yeah, Jerry still has the Jerry Rice Kidney Foundation. They do a thing every couple of years in Mississippi. He does still have his name on that. So we still try to get people aware and involved. Alonzo Mourning's brother actually gave my dad his first kidney after he saw my story in Slam magazine when they said Darius Rice was going to end his basketball career to save his dad. And that's who gave my dad his first kidney. But like I said, my dad was a big stubborn guy. He started eating right. His kidney rejected on him a couple of years later. But yeah, we're still involved in it. We still try to bring awareness to it and try to tell people the seriousness of it and controlling your diet and your salt intake and sugar levels. And it's just so much, man. You just don't know.
And the last thing here before I let you go, and we've talked a little bit about her, is your mom. Just how important was your mom to you?
She was everything to me. Still is everything to me. Been so inspirational. She was the one that kept me spiritually in check, kept me closer to God through everything. She actually said I died when my dad passed because I started feeling sick at the funeral. The song was on. I just had all these emotions. And I told my mom I'm not feeling well. I tried to run out of the church and I passed out and I was out. She said I was gone. And she said she couldn't lose two of us in one day. And I woke up and I was in the ambulance. I said, get me out of here. I'm going back to the funeral. I hopped out and ran to the funeral. But my mom has always been that rock. To this day, wherever she needs, I got her. And she's still able to move around and do a lot of things. And she's coming to the Hall of Fame event in April in Miami. I grew up mostly with my mom because my dad was a football coach. He was gone a lot. My mom worked at Jackson State, but she always made time for us, made time for me. Wherever I needed, she would give her last. And I couldn't give her enough praise and thanks to this day, but she's there.
What's a favorite story away from athletics you have with your mom?
Oh, man, so many stories. I think my favorite is a sad, touching story, but it's more like I said, my dad was a big, hard, strong, tough guy. He'd show a lot of love. And I used to always hug my mom and go to sleep. And when my dad come home, I would get scared because I'm hugging my mom. I couldn't do it. And my mom was like, gonna be a day you won't be scared to hug me no more. Because I had to show this tough guy image like my dad. And that just showed the love that my mom has and how much she loved to care for me and my sister and just keeping everything together with us. Because it was some long, rough days. Basketball-wise, when I wasn't having good, my dad's on me or something bad happened. I didn't get drafted. That draft night was tough. I went and sat in the gym and I shot all night after the draft. I left at the 50th pick. And I don't even worry about it. And my mom had to come find me that night because I was just out shooting at a gym that somebody gave me a key to. And I was just crying and shooting, crying and shooting, crying and shooting. And she was right there, sitting there, rebounding, passing me the ball back. And it was nights like that. What do I have to do to get in? But she always kept my mind in the right place instead of giving up. Because there was plenty of times I could have given up, but she never would let me.
Darius, I want to thank you so much for joining the I Play 2 podcast today and talking about playing overseas in the Philippines and in China and your great basketball career, all the stuff with Uncle Luke, your Uncle Jerry, your family. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to have you back on again. Take care, man, and good luck coaching this season.
Thank you. I can't wait to come back, man. It was great talking to you. Fun show.